heavy metallic scratch of an ink pen binding a man to a piece of paper. The air in the signature room of the luxury dealership is perfectly climate-controlled. The guy holding the pen feels like a king. He just signed his name, locking himself into an $80,000 contract for a piece of depreciating European steel. But here is the brutal irony society refuses to acknowledge. The bank executive who approved that loan, the guy actually profiting off the interest rate, drives a paid-off, completely invisible, 10-year-old Japanese sedan. The man with the pen makes $150,000 a year. By all traditional cultural metrics, he has made it. He wears the right Italian shoes, he posts the right weekend escapes on his timeline, and he plays the corporate game flawlessly. But his net worth is fundamentally negative. He is the ultimate modern tragedy. He is the premium broke. The premium broke earns a top-tier income, but lives exactly one unexpected crisis or one corporate layoff away from absolute financial ruin. We look at a laboratory rat running endlessly on a wheel for a fabricated reward, and we pity the animal. Yet millions of humans wake up every single Monday, put on a tailored suit, and sprint through a soul-crushing 60-hour work week just to hand over the majority of their income to lenders. The cheese isn't real. It's just an approved credit limit disguised as purchasing power. The financial institution builds the maze, and the modern consumer happily pays interest to put a shiny, gold-plated lock on their own cage. Here is a hard truth you need to swallow. The modern definition of success is a collective hallucination. People are so terrified of being socially irrelevant that they will gladly go bankrupt just to prove to strangers that they exist. Society has convinced you that if a lender approves you for a loan, it means you can afford the item. That is a lethal lie. Approval simply means the bank has calculated precisely how much of your future life energy they can extract before you mentally break. The illusion of leverage has brainwashed an entire generation. You are taught that borrowing money for consumption is a tool for building wealth. It is not. It is a cash flow shredder, masquerading as purchasing power. The top 1%, the people with quiet generational wealth, understand the difference between debt that builds dynasties and credit that finances golden cages. They use leverage strictly to acquire assets that pay for their lifestyle. They categorically refuse to finance their own vanity. There is a lethal difference between the debt that sets you free and the credit that bleeds you dry. The truly wealthy have a strict, unbreakable code of financial isolation. There are exactly 5 things they will never finance. And the first item on this list is the very engine of the middle-class trap, an illusion so powerful that it convinces you to trade 3 decades of freedom for a temporary smell of leather. Rule 1, the depreciation engine. Let's dissect the luxury vehicle, the $80,000 imported SUV. The exact moment those tires touch the asphalt, the market violently strips away 20% of its value. But your loan balance doesn't shrink a single cent. You are immediately underwater. The dealership finance manager is not your ally. He is a predator trained to focus your exhausted mind on the monthly payment while burying the bleeding wound of the principal. You are paying interest on a falling rock. I have watched intelligent men destroy their financial foundation because they couldn't stomach pulling up to a corporate parking lot in an older vehicle. Pride is the most expensive emotion on earth, and the banking system has weaponized it. You drag yourself through a toxic 40-hour week. Your commute is a psychological meat grinder. So when you grip that hand-stitched steering wheel, you convince yourself you earned this. You didn't earn anything. You traded your future autonomy for a temporary dopamine injection. The lender knows you are emotionally depleted. They rely on it. But the vehicle is merely the outer wall of the maze. The trap gets much more intimate because the system eventually convinces you to put a mortgage on a memory. Rule 2, financing the applause. The second thing the apex wealth class refuses to finance is a social spectacle. The event industry has engineered a flawless masterpiece of emotional manipulation, convincing the middle class that the validity of a relationship is proportional to the price of the floral arrangements. You take out a $30,000 personal loan at an insulting interest rate to feed 80 people who will complain about the steak. You are financing the applause of acquaintances. The top 1% throws massive events, but they pay in liquid cash. They refuse to pay a bank a monthly premium for a party that evaporated in 6 hours. Financing a celebration is the ultimate submission to the crowd. It is you emptying your future pockets, begging the audience to validate your existence. The panic doesn't hit during the champagne toast. It hits 14 months later. You are sitting at a dark kitchen table staring at a banking app, realizing you are still paying interest on a cake you digested a year ago. That is the psychological slaughterhouse of modern credit. And once they shatter your logic on major events, they come directly for your daily identity. The trap shrinks from the banquet hall straight into your closet. Rule 3. The wardrobe illusion. The third forbidden financial sin is putting rapidly depreciating designer labels on a credit cycle. The buy now, pay later phenomenon is a digital plague. You are splitting a $900 jacket into 4 easy installments. Look at the absolute absurdity of that transaction. If you have to fractionalize the cost of dyed cotton to acquire it, you can't afford it. The luxury industry operates on engineered obsolescence. By the time you make the final payment on those sneakers, the trend is dead, and the algorithm is already shaming you into the next purchase. You are a lab rat sprinting on a wheel made of logos. The truly wealthy operate in the shadows. They walk around in unmarked basics. They don't need a brand stamped across their chest because their equity does the heavy lifting. The system hollows you out, replacing your actual wealth with wearable debt. But the most devastating trap isn't in your closet. The ultimate wealth destroyer is the one society applauds you for, a trap so deeply embedded in the modern dream that walking blindly into it feels like a total victory. Rule 4. The opportunity slaughter. Let's run the unforgiving math the banking system prays you never calculate. The lender wants you focused exclusively on the monthly payment. They want you obsessed with the idea that you can afford $900 a month. But here is the catastrophic blind spot. The true cost of financing a luxury vehicle is not the principal or the interest rate. It is the slaughter of your opportunity cost. Imagine that same $900, instead of feeding it into a depreciating European SUV for 84 agonizing months, you deploy it into a basic index fund. You let compound interest work. That finance car doesn't cost you $80,000. It costs you $1 million in unearned future wealth over 3 decades. You just traded 30 years of absolute financial independence for a leather steering wheel and a temporary ego boost. Ignorance is a highly profitable revenue stream. The system is designed to make you feel wealthy while systematically draining your equity. They give you the cheese, but the trap is engineered to snap shut on your future. You are running the maze perfectly, generating massive dividends for financial institutions, all while you sweat over a random medical bill. The fourth item the Apex class refuses to finance is the luxury escape. The finance vacation is the ultimate symptom of a diseased lifestyle. You are so exhausted by a soul-crushing corporate job that you swipe a credit card to spend 7 days at a resort in Cabo. You take the curated photos and pretend you escaped. You didn't escape anything. You just put your exhaustion on an installment plan. You return to the exact same cubicle, but now you are paying 20% interest on a sunset you watched 14 months ago. The top 1% pay for leisure in cash, or they stay home. But the most insidious trap is not a temporary trip. It is the permanent anchor you tie around your neck to impress people who secretly want you to fail, and it happens right inside your own house. Rule 5. The cosmetic trap. The fifth financial suicide is the aesthetic home renovation. The middle class is brainwashed to believe that pulling equity out of a residence to install Italian marble is an investment. It is not. It is a vanity project financed by debt. You are literally borrowing money against the roof over your head to change the color of your kitchen cabinets. You risk your shelter so neighbors feel jealous during a dinner party. Financial imprisonment is a choice masked as a cultural norm. The bank encourages it because they actually own the house. You are just a glorified tenant paying interest to upgrade their property. Society tells you to inflate your lifestyle every time your income increases. You get a promotion, you buy a bigger cage. You get a bonus, you upgrade the locks on your own prison. The truly wealthy look at the Joneses and feel nothing but absolute pity. They know that to win this rigged game, you cannot simply run faster. You have to step off the track entirely. You have to build an architecture of absolute silence. Rule 6. The ghost privilege. Here is the answer to the brutal question that brought you here. The lethal difference between the debt that builds dynasties and the credit that finances golden cages comes down to a single, unforgiving word: yield. When the apex wealth class walks into a bank, they are not asking for permission to consume. They are executing a hostile takeover of future cash flow. They borrow money at 6% to acquire a business or a hard asset that pays them 12%. The debt pays for itself, and the surplus buys their permanent freedom. That is dynasty debt. But the system doesn't teach you that. The system hands you a plastic card and trains you to borrow money at 24% to buy a piece of furniture that pays you absolutely zero. That is the golden cage. You are using your finite, unrecoverable human labor to subsidize the present-day profits of a multinational bank. You are the yield. The only way to break this cycle is to embrace the concept of stealth wealth. You have to become a financial ghost. The modern consumer is terrified of looking broke. They will drain their bank account and wreck their nervous systems just to maintain the illusion of relevance on a digital feed. But the truly wealthy extract a sadistic pleasure from their social irrelevance. They drive unmarked 10-year-old vehicles. They wear unbranded cotton. They live in homes well below their maximum approval limit. Because they understand that the ultimate flex in this life is not a diamond watch or a European sports car. The ultimate flex is waking up on a random Tuesday morning and realizing you don't owe a single explanation or a single cent of interest to anyone on earth. I have watched men trade their absolute prime years for a luxury zip code, only to realize too late that prestige is just a voluntary tax you pay to people who secretly want you to fail. The only real luxury in this brutal world is unbothered anonymity. You must learn to find absolute, unbreakable peace in being underestimated. Imagine the psychological weight of a weekday night. The premium broke is sweating in a high-rise apartment, checking a banking app at 2 in the morning, terrified that a single medical emergency or corporate layoff will bring his entire curated identity crashing down. His chest is tight. His sleep is ruined. Now look at the financial ghost. He is sleeping soundly. The economy dips. The corporate ladders shake. And he doesn't blink. He has built a fortress of liquid cash. He doesn't need the applause of strangers because he has bought the absolute silence of security. Let your coworkers think you're struggling. Let your neighbors wonder why you haven't upgraded your kitchen. Let them whisper while they are suffocating under the weight of 84-month car loans and maxed out limits to fund a fabricated lifestyle. You are quietly buying back your life. You are stacking capital. You are building equity in the dark. The financial institutions built a perfect trap. They gave you a shiny wheel, painted it gold, and convinced you that running faster is a sign of success. But you don't beat the maze by finding a faster wheel. You beat the maze by starving the engineers. You stop taking their toxic bait. You categorically refuse to finance your own cage. If you want to keep playing their game, close this video. Go finance another vacation. Go buy another depreciating asset to impress people you don't even like. The system desperately needs you to keep running. But if you are ready to shatter the illusion and build a quiet empire, hit the like button, subscribe, and join the ones who found the exit. If you survived this far, drop a comment below saying, "Ghost Privilege." The lab rats will think you're crazy, but we'll know you're awake. My name is Daniel Rath, and I'll see you outside the maze.